This week, a stage in Delhi, a screaming crowd, and a man with my face on his shirt. India, a technology superpower in waiting. Half of the 1.2 billion people here are aged 35 or under. In the years that we've been coming here, we've seen it change from an IT outsourcing workhouse to a place of innovation and startups. And although Click has a huge audience in India, and although we've brought Indian stories to the world, we haven't yet been able to bring the world to India. So it's high time we put that right. We've taken the Click Live show on the road, actually on a plane, to the beautiful setting of Bikaner House in New Delhi. New Delhi! Thank you for having us. Are you well? And it's here that we wowed audiences with the coolest tech that we've seen on our travels. We painted colours in the air, tickled their ears, took them to the future and to the distant past. This is Hampi, once the capital of the Vijayanagara dynasty, and by the 16th century it was the second largest medieval era city in the world. Since 1565 it's lain in ruins, but over recent years this UNESCO World Heritage Site has been 3D scanned by several different organisations. Not only does this mean that what's still there can be digitally preserved, but it's also meant that historians have been able to reconstruct a virtual model of how it would have looked in its heyday. So we're now going to take a walk through of the temple site, and to do that we also need a projector which is going to shine down onto the model, and a camera up there which is going to watch for the routes that I want to describe, and this is how I'm going to show it where I want to go. Once you've described your route, you're taken on a virtual tour, and while you enjoy the scenery on the screen, you can see exactly where you are on the model too.
If you are digitally preserving this, you are really keeping it, kind of for the future generations to be able to really see what used to be existing.
The laser pointer and footprints are just the first experiment into how others might experience this kind of virtual tour. It's crying out for a virtual reality setup, obviously. And this technique will also be useful to explore sites other than those from times gone by.
This this whole technique I think would go very well where you're looking at visualizations of newer architectures, newer buildings, where you also have people who are exploring things. So seeing a physical form and a virtual form together, it will really help people to be able to visualize things and also maybe change, and digitally you can change anything. So that's the excitement, I think.
Visara Technologies is one of many startups that are being spun out of the 23 Indian Institutes of Technology, universities which span the country, providing a tech education for tens of thousands of young Indians, and incubators to allow their research to be turned into small businesses after graduation. One of the visions of IIT was to create world-class engineers and world-class projects and perform world-class research, and it certainly had some big global success stories. These include Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, and more recently, Binny Bansal. He's the co-founder of Flipkart, a massive online shopping site launched in 2007, 6 years before Amazon arrived in the country. It's considered one of India's most successful startups, and when Walmart recently bought most of the company, the deal made Binny a billionaire. And whilst in Delhi, I couldn't resist grabbing a few minutes with the man himself to get a snapshot of the Indian tech industry. How have you seen the Indian tech scene change in the last 20 years?
I think the Indian tech scene really started evolving in the last 10-12 years. I think 20 years back there was not really a tech scene. The tech scene was people just used to graduate and go to the US and work in product companies. We didn't really have Indian product companies. They were there were a handful, literally there were a handful, you could count them on your fingers. So it really started changing in 2011-12 when a lot of startups started coming out of India. And I think in the last 10 years, there has been just an exponential sort of rate of growth in number of startups, in number of people working in them.
Why is that, do you think?
So multiple reasons. I think one is that we have a lot bigger market, a lot bigger economy, lot bigger market. Most importantly, we have a lot more people on the internet. So 10 years back, we had 15, 20 million people on the internet. Today, we have more than 350, 400 million people connected. And that just creates, I think that has created a huge market for Indian entrepreneurs now to take big bets and to really dream big and then execute, which wasn't the case before.
What do you think India is really good at?
I think one thing I believe India is really good at is producing global leaders. So if you look at companies like Pepsi, Google, Microsoft, a lot of the CEOs today are Indian. And that kind of gives me hope that not one day, not so much in the future, we'll have the next Google or Microsoft coming out of India, because Indian entrepreneurs and Indian leaders, I think, can scale businesses globally much better than maybe their Chinese counterparts.
And what do you think India is not good at?
Given our evolution, given the infrastructure that we've had, we tend to take shortcuts to problems, and because things are broke, so many of the things are broken. So I think that is something which also needs a mindset change.
Artificial intelligence, good or bad for India?
I think both. I think it's very hard to predict which side the penny falls. So great because, I mean, it can solve healthcare at scale, it can solve education at scale, it can solve so many of these societal issues at scale, and I mean, I can just imagine that happening. Bad because it is going to take away a large number of jobs, so that becomes, but I think that's a problem well defined and can be solved with the right intentions and the right solutions. So I'm again more optimistic than pessimistic about AI.
Thanks for your time.
All right,
That was
thank you.
brilliant. Thank you. Back at the live show, when we weren't creating the world's greatest selfie or playing the world's best game, designed by Click, patent pending, incidentally, we spoke to the pioneers of India's burgeoning space industry and asked the question on the minds of over 1 billion people: can a self-driving car survive India's traffic?
Over the past few years, we have been developing the technology. As you can see, the vehicle can perceive without the lidars and radars. Then we have developed the software to actually deal with the chaotic and unstructured traffic and environment conditions in India. It's a very hard problem, and so far, we have done some tests, but it will take us a couple of more time to actually go into the Indian cities and deal with the chaotic traffic at peak traffic hours in India.
See, not quite as crazy as you first thought.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. This was the week that the world's first hydrogen-powered train rolled into a station in Germany. Sony revealed either a very small PlayStation or a very big hand, and a soft-limbed robot jellyfish bobbed onto the scene. On dry land, Elon Musk has been getting into trouble over his tweets. On Monday, he was sued by the British cave diver that he had accused, without evidence, of being a child abuser. Then, the US Department of Justice opened an investigation into financial tweets made by Musk last month. But in a bit of good news, SpaceX just found its first passenger for its mission to the moon. A junk-hunting satellite has captured space debris for the first time. The prototype device successfully snared a metal object in a net from a distance of 6 meters. The weight of the net will eventually drag the debris into the atmosphere, where it will then burn up. MIT's CSAIL lab has revealed research to create 3-dimensional motion sculptures from normal 2-dimensional videos. By picking out the structure of the human body, the system can recreate a 3D version of the scene that can be rotated and explored. The hope is that the technique could help people like dancers and athletes learn more about how they move. And finally, what weekly news roundup would be complete without a record-breaking 2-ton spider robot? Dubbed Mantis, this 5-metre-long hexapod is the work of British engineer Matt Denton. He's built dozens of smaller robots, but this is the first to win the very specific accolade of largest rideable hexapod robot. But with a top speed of just 0.6 miles an hour, you can certainly outrun it in person, if not in your nightmares.
Now, not sure if you know, but as well as being broadcast around the world in English, Click is also remade specifically for 110 million Farsi speakers, mainly in Iran, Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. And now we're expanding further. One of the main reasons that we were live in New Delhi was to celebrate the upcoming launch of Clicks in several different languages and to introduce the people who'll be hosting them.
Are you ready?
The base of the BBC's Indian operations is here in Delhi. It is the largest BBC hub outside of the UK, and it's here that all the languages come together to generate their own stories and share content between each other. You have Tamil, Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, Punjabi and Telugu.
Welcome back to Clicks.
This is one of the BBC's studios here, and that's Ashwarya, who's currently rehearsing for Click Tamil. It's brilliant, isn't it? And in fact, Click Tamil launches in the next 2 weeks. And it's not even just about India either. Eventually, Click will be broadcast in more than 20 languages. And the great thing about all of this is not just that we'll be able to reach huge audiences in their own languages, but we'll be able to bring you stories that these guys are discovering on the ground. Stories like the app that helps to donate food to the poor, an artificial intelligence that helps in employment and recruitment, or even a smart chessboard. Very Hogwarts. And then there are the drones being used to prevent poaching in India's national parks. Here's just a taster of that story from Shubham Kishore.
These are pictures from Jaipur's Jhalana National Park. They have been filmed using a drone which is flying at a height of about 30 meters. The drone is equipped with 10x zoom camera. These are a part of surveillance system being tested here. In the park spread across 32 square kilometers, many towers have been installed. Each is fitted with a high-resolution camera that can rotate at 360 degrees. And these can be monitored from a control room which is situated several kilometers away from the park. In case any movement is captured on these static cameras, the drones can immediately swing in action for further monitoring. If there's any danger to any animal or any illegal activities observed, the drones can monitor the situation till forest officials reach the spot. Recordings of cameras can be seen on a portable device. With the help of real-time tracking, it is easy to reach to the location. At present, drones are being operated manually, but in future, they can operate on their own with the help of artificial intelligence.
As soon as a target is detected at the Mission Control Center, a drone will automatically take off and reach the localized position.
So it is possible that in future, these drones not only talk to each other, but will also be able to take decisions related to surveillance on their own. The company that manufactures these drones claims that the radiations used in the system is even less than that of a mobile phone, and this is completely safe for animals. But one cannot rule out the possibilities of bird hit. The state government of Rajasthan plans to implement this new technology in other national parks of the state as well. They believe that this will not only help in strengthening the safety and security of wildlife, but will also promote research and help in better planning.
One of the big themes that came out of Click Live in India was the power of artificial intelligence and its impact on people's work, especially on their jobs. One company hoping to ride the AI boom is iMerit, and its founder, Radha Basu, explained how AI won't just replace humans. It needs a human workforce to train the algorithms in the first place by clearly annotating training images like these. Could you explain to everyone here what iMerit does?
In order for AI algorithms to work, they have to be trained. It's like computer programming. If you just put a computer there and say work, it doesn't work. So you have to program it. That's called training AI. What we do is train AI and enrich the data so that our clients can get the best results out of their AI algorithms.
So you have a huge human workforce that's training AI, and we've got some examples of the kind of things that your workers do that we'll put up on the screen here. So just, this is some of the examples of what your humans are doing to create this training data,
That's
yeah?
correct. We're called humans in the loop of AI. So it could be as simple as taking different cars in a parking lot, doing bounding boxes around them, knowing which cars have damage, so being able to look at automatically picking that up and sending that like an insurance investigator would do. Now this is where we have probably done the most work. We've done more than 15 million images for self-driving autonomous cars. We work at the variety of car manufacturers, and if you look at this, it's called bounding boxes and polygons, but it's at a pixel level, so it's dense pixel segmentation. So think, for example, there are a few toes onto the crosswalk. How do you know whether that belongs to a cat, to a small child? There's a wad of paper on the street. Do you know if it's a rock or a wad of paper? So when we do this pixel segmentation, it's very complex, and you can have up to 50 to 70 different things you're marking.
So just to be clear then, you're training the AI, this is a person, this is a car, and then it goes away and learns from that training data.
So when the car looks at the street scene, we have trained the AI algorithms so that the computer can learn from it. For the first time, we have technologies in AI that can be used for crucial societal applications, particularly like healthcare. There are, in the amount of data, healthcare is about 1/3 of the data. And the ability that we have, as you can see there, this is our work, where you actually can go in and look at cancer cells, and we actually annotate them in these images and use this to train the AI algorithms. And if you think about this in a broad societal sense, this can be taken to a large number of people who do not have access to this kind of care, and you can do pre-screening for cancer cells.
What's really important is the type of person that you employ.
So that, I think, is the core, I would say, the core contribution of iMerit. iMerit has 1,500 people, and we're hiring about 200 to 300 people a quarter. So AI is creating jobs.
Wow.
50% of the workforce for a technology services company, 50% of the workforce are women. Yes? And 80% of the workforce are coming from low-income backgrounds. They could be young Muslim women. We have one center that's called the Center of Excellence for Computer Vision. That's for image processing. And that center is all young Muslim women in a very poor community in Metro Bruce. So you can imagine that this is creating jobs that right from the beginning is inclusive of the workforce. It has diversity, and it has a lot of moral ethics that go with it.
The streets of New Delhi were designed at the beginning of the 20th century as India's capital moved here. And compared to much of the development which has followed since, there's one thing that you really notice. Trees. In this part of the city, it just feels that bit cooler and that bit more pleasant thanks to the shade provided by these tree-lined avenues that were planted way back then. In fact, in Delhi, fierce battles rage whenever the thought of chopping down trees is even suggested. Air quality here, as you probably know, is terrible, and trees are seen as at least part of the solution. And now, get this, plans are afoot to build a green wall around the city, a ring of more than 3 million trees to protect against dust storms and other pollution. And it's not just here in Delhi that trees are big news. David Reed headed for the troubled forests of Shimla, which has seen huge amounts of illegal logging. The question is, could technology help?
If you like trees, you'll love Shimla. Pines sprout from the tarmac. Houses are built around them. The Forest Department numbers every tree so they know if any go missing. Many do. One reason is because constructible land here is so scarce and costly. Property fetches a premium on the market, a massive amount of pressure on trees to cut them down and turn that land into land that can be built on. Now the Forest Department is turning to technology to fight the felling. These nettles are so nasty. Like radio frequency identification, the tags shops use to stop people stealing stuff.
Earlier method was to number these trees physically on the ground, but now we can put these RFID tags so that it can be monitored remotely, 24 hours a day.
You've set up a radio network that effectively sends you an alarm if a tree is being tampered with.
Yes, exactly. Even if a tree is being cut or if there's an axe being used on this tree, that vibration gets into this.
So what's to stop me from just pulling off the tag and cutting the tree down? How is it going to work? There's a pin inside. Yep.
Yes, if you see at the reverse of this RFID tag, there is a small pin which comes out if the tag is being pulled out from the tree. Then there is a signal which directly goes to the receiver.
We took to the woods to see a spot where trees may have been illegally felled. The local lawyer who led us there believes tree protection has to be through technology and taken out of the hands of people.
They can be influenced, they can be bought, they can be threatened. So we wanted a system which is not based on trust. It is a trustless system based on objective factual reality, which can only come from technology.
While Devon believes this property is being cleared to enhance its value, elsewhere organised crime is involved. You see these trees behind me, they're Himalayan cedars, they're very valuable commodities. Black market price, 5 lakh rupees, that's £5,500, $7,000.
There are certain areas of the Himalayas where there is an active mafia, they have guns and they are violent people, and for them we need drone surveillance.
We are taking an added view of the images, and from that we are stitching them together and running it through our artificial intelligence engine.
So this becomes this, allowing investigators to ID and locate individual trees.
If this area is missing some trees, we can also get the lat and long of that place, so we can go there and check whether it really happened.
RFID and drones, a long way from numbers daubed on bark. For the Forest Department, it's about sharpening their performance and stopping the crims sharpening their axes.
The idea currently is that if you cut a tree, there is a chance that you might escape. Now, by using this technology, you will make sure that there is no escape possible for the department staff, for the government, and also for the person who has cut the tree. If you cut a tree, you can't escape anymore.
And from David in Shimla, back to an excited audience here in New Delhi, who, from what I could tell up on stage, had a pretty good evening.
And that's it for now from India. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget we live on Facebook and on Twitter at BBC Click, where you can see loads of extra backstage photos and fun. But for now, and from this wonderful audience, it's goodbye, and we'll see you soon.